Thank you, Nipun, and thank you, Nipun, Mr. Taha, and definitely the entire Mr. Almas, Nabil Bhai here, and the entire JCI team to invite me in this session. So, before I proceed here, because it's already like 17 minutes past to 10, that means it's already we started a bit late, but this late is something that indicates something more qualityful things. If we can create an impact, that you will never find anything that you have wasted your time. So every time when we are dealing with the things, every time where and when we are acting, we always try to create a check and balance in between, whether it's been wasted or it's been an impactful thing. So let's see, guys. I'm just willing to have something from you guys, and that is more intensive when I see the faces. Faces sometimes say much more than anything, and it always creates and generates more energy inside and exhausts a lot of dopamine. So let's see each. Let's have a try so that we can turn on the camera so that we can all see each other, and that will create an impactful session. That's what I believe. And this is the era of online, so and everyone is much more engaged in online activities. So I would like to request you all to please turn on the camera if possible, because the internet situation is depending on different places. So with that respect, I would like to request you all to turn on the camera if possible. And also, although there is a 15 minutes between the say I mean at the end of the session, as our host said, but remember, unless you interact, unless you make any interaction, then things, the show doesn't go on. So anything, if you have any confusion, any queries you have, feel free to use the chat box here. As long as the chat box are there, I believe the host will be noticing and addressing all those things to you. So let's start our discussion for today. Well, by this time you already know that where we are here. So most of the cases, as we are here to have some discussion about the negotiation. And negotiation is something, before going to negotiation always remind me something. It's a nice story that is very much related to our present time. That is, the very soon we are going to have our second largest festival, that is the Eid ul Adha. And everyone, we as a believer of Muslim, so Muslim believers normally they sacrifice a cattle, and for that I believe we all try to move and try to go to the market, and we all try to see what is the better price we can get to have our expected cattle. So with that example, let me start with the story first. So one of the old father, he left 17 cows, 17 cattle before he left the world, before he died. And he had three son, and he, before he died, he made a will. Are you getting me, guys? So before he died, he made a will where he stated the elder son will get half portion of the total, the second son will get 1/3 portion of the total, and the third son will get 1/9 portion of the total. So what's the problem here? Can anyone identify what's the problem? The tale is here, the father left 17 cows and he made a will. The first son will get the half of the portion, half of the total cows. Second son will get 1/3 of the total cows, and the third one, the youngest one, will get 1/9 of the total cows. So the problem is here, it's 17. 17 is something, it cannot be divided by 2, it cannot be divided by 3, or it cannot be divided by anything. It's because it's not possible, right? So what happens? The things started difficult, because at the end of the day, it's the father last thing that has been left to the son, and all the sons are getting crazy to have this one. Finally, what they have done, they went to a wise person. We all know there are some of the old men in the villages, those who are there to resolve all these critical situations happening in every family, right? So the elderly people, we always respect them, and the three sons, when they could not able to get into the solution, they finally went to that wise old man. So the old man, what he said, the old man said, well, the thing you have, it's really difficult for me. I think I cannot solve you in that way because it's 17 and you are 3 here. It's not possible to make you satisfied. But one thing I can do for you. I have one cow, and I am very much grateful to your father. He was a great person. He helped me once upon a time. So I want you to get my cow. So now once they got the cow, so with this cow, it's now what? It's now 18, right? So this 18, the three sons become very happy. They said, okay, the first son, the elder one, he got half of the total. That means what? That means what? Guys, unmute and interact. I think, okay. So the first son got already 9. The second son, he was supposed to get 1/3 of the total. That means what? 18 divided by 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And the third son, who was supposed to get 1/9, that means 18 divided by 9 equals to what? 2. Now you add all together. How much is there? 17. Then the wise man said, okay, you already got your cows. Now give me back my cow. So this is what the negotiation is. And that is why the negotiators across the world, they are one of the most important people in some of the cases where there is an issue. There you will find a negotiator. Now, before I proceed, I just wanted to know that this is the part of the negotiation, and that introduce people like us, the negotiators. The negotiators, what is the negotiator? Well, this is me, Tanzil, a supply value chain coach, and I am an expert on this area where I dealt in my last 1 decade of experience, where I have learned a lot of things through my mistake while negotiating, while going for any contract and the deal makings. So I have seen with my real life that how the negotiation have been taken place, and why most of the people, although they have the most confidence on their product and services, but still when it's come about the negotiation and contract, they fail to get their contract, or they fail to win their contract. Before proceeding next, let's see what we buy, what make us buy. I would like to request our host to share something, share the link where I have generated a poll, and that will take you to Menti, and the link already shared in the chat box, and I'm going to share this one for all of your betterment to see the live score that what's happening. So you already have the link in the chat box. Please go to the link and try to find that what really insists you to buy, what really make you decided whether you are going to buy for the product or not. Well, we got one. Okay, come on. Well, we have here 4 type of things. When we are going to buy, whether we buy based on the product knowledge, whether we buy based on the research on and the review on the product, or whether we buy on seeking on the alternatives. We seek on the alternatives and try to get the best product for us. And finally, we try to buy based on the after sales benefits, or the after sales offerings that we have. So these are the 4 criteria, and based on that, let me see what really make us buy. Wow, there's a great competition. People more research and review to buy. Okay, that's great because it's an online time, and we all are very much focused to the online reviews and other things. So that's why it has become a very important factor for present time to purchase decision. Impressive. And also, when you are some of the people, okay, that's going on, I want you all to participate, and you see your input will create an impact. So one cannot change the world, but when it's a collective one, we all together can make a big difference. So let's say, let's contribute and just give your feedback on this screen, and you see the feedback, how things are happening. Well, that's a great deal. So by this time, we already have seen total 24 response has been inputted, and among these 24, everyone has considered one single thing. It's already 19. So the majority saying that the research and review you consider before you buy a product. So if that is so, what about the other things? Those who buy based on the product knowledge, or those who buy on much more alternatives by seeking at the alternatives and try to get the best out of it, or someone who is looking at the after sale services, so are they making mistake? A question to you. Well, honestly, there is no mistake here. You can choose either any option. From any option, you can choose anyone, and there is no mistake at all. So what's the difference here? The difference is the impact, that how you are being influenced. If you are being influenced by the product knowledge, and it can be either the internal or it can be the external one, and trust me, this is what in the entire world is playing with us, especially the marketeers. What they does, they try to engage us, they try to create an attention that why you should look at my product, and based on that, once we get into that trap, then we are very much happy, we are delighted to pay them for the product they're offering. And very often you all will find that if the initial example that I have shared with you guys, that yes, I have the budget, everyone has the budget to buy the cattle for the for the Idul Adha, and most of the cases what happens, you go to the market with a budget, finally you purchase more than that, you buy more than your budget. It's a very common factor. Do you guys agree or not? If you agree, then type 1. If you don't agree, then type 0. Let me see how you really react on these activities. I just want to see the faces. I just want to see whether you really are with me or not. It's very important. So if I'm just repeating once again, that if you go to let's say for example, you are going to a shopping mall, you are going to buy a mobile phone, you have a budget to buy the mobile phone, and finally once you go to the market and you end up to buy whatever the budget you had, you exceed that one. If you feel it's a common experience to you, you can type 1. If you feel it's an alien experience to you, you are not agreed with it, you can type 0 with no problem. It's completely upon you. Excellent. So I believe none of you basically disagreed, because we all are getting into the trap at a frequent level. So in this case, what happens that when we are into a situation, when we are going for any kind of negotiation, that time we should have one of the biggest impact, and that should, unless we have an impact or unless we have a value inside, we never ever get convinced. And you remember when the three sons went to the wise man, what the wise man did? The wise man at first gave the cattle, get the cow that he had with him. So what happened? Everyone was quite satisfied to get into the solution. And then once they got the solution, finally the wise man took back his asset again to him, what he really owed to them. So this is how the entire world, we are negotiating every single day, from getting up to the bed to get back to the bed. Every time we are continuously focusing to negotiation. And sometimes we need to come one step back from the situation and then have a fresh look and then come up with the 18th cow, like that story. Are you with me? So, find our intention as a negotiator. What do we really do? Come on, it's like this is one of the shortest version of my 6 hours program, Mastery Negotiation, and that in within this 1 hour, maybe I'll not be focused the entire negotiation techniques and tools, but I'll try to give the best as I can. And for this, unless I get your feedback, unless I get your inputs, it will not be possible for me to make it more delightful. I hope you will be with me. Thank you. So in this case, the being the successful negotiator, we always need to be the wise that looking for the 18th as solution in the world of the conflict, which is not a matter of a single night. I believe it's not a matter of single night. It will need more time and lots of hours of tools, lots of hours of practice will make a true negotiator that we see. Negotiation is something that always there are conflict, and what we do as a negotiation, as a negotiator, our concern is to identify the conflict, and in every negotiation you will find anger. And remember, there one of my senior once said, the time when give you a speech, and that time if you are angry and give you a speech, in your entire life you will be regret for that speech. Because when you get angry on something, that time you just lost your mind to make a good decision, and that always take us to a destructive solution, which we always feel regret when we get back into our reality. So in that case, what is more concerned about it? The least result, even in the movie, what we see from the movie at the end, we all expect what the all the people with the movie, they will end up with a peaceful mind, isn't it? If we see the movie didn't end at a peaceful mind, that time that becomes a tragedy movie. So we buy to find peace, we don't buy to find tragedy. Or we don't want to spend to buy headache. In most of the cases, what happens as a professional, you will always find that there will be a lot of contracts in your hand, and when there will be a lot of people, those who will be knocking you with their product. But most of the cases, what happens, my dear? We don't want to change. We don't want to change to new supplier base, or we don't want to go for new contracts. Why? Because the people, the contractors or the supplier base that I used to call as a partner. So as a supply chain professional, I used to call my supplier and as a partner. So my partners has been given me the support since last couple of years, and I know their performance. I know the way they support me. And maybe someone will be coming to me and they will be offering me their product, and I rarely give them the chance. Why? Because I don't want to buy headache every time. So in that case, what happens? Otherwise, the word peace is really simple. But do you really think it is? It's not that easy. To create peace, we always have to find the 18th cow. Remember this word, the 18th cow. The 18th cow is something that will take you in one of the such a peaceful place where you will feel yourself that you are into the top position, where you will be the winner of the show. And this is what the entire world is doing, and this is how the negotiation are being take place. There are always two sides of negotiation. There are always two sides of negotiation. Someone is offering and someone is going to accept. So we always have someone asked, maybe someone, you have the consideration that what is the difference between the bargain and negotiation. So bargaining is something that you both parties are fighting with, the you are offering and someone is just making a counter offer. So where you will be knowing lot more, you will be finding you have to know the zopa. Zopa is what? Zopa is the zone of potential alternative or agreement. So when you think of this potential agreement, that time what? You will try as a buyer or the customer is the king, isn't it? So all the customers, they will be looking ahead that they will try to get the best offer, they will try to buy at a best minimum price as possible. And as a offerer, who as a supplier, your concern is to get the maximum profit out of it. So where it happens, there is a negotiation taking place. And in this case, someone will be loser, someone will be gaining the show. I'm very much thankful to see Mr. Noor Nabil Asad, the chairman of Knowledge Bees here. Thank you so much for sir for being here with us. I'm very much glad to see you again after such a long time, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. And there is always the two sides. And in these two sides, we have to find what is the solution. If you consider the solution, what would be the solution? It's nothing but us. It's like a mirror. If you just cannot put yourself into the shoe of your supplier end, or as a supplier, if you cannot focus on your buyer end, then definitely someone somewhere there will be a conflict. And if there is a conflict, you will find a negotiator like me. So I believe you don't want to be get we don't you don't want to get into a conflict in your life, and I hope so no one want to get that one. Since the history of the ancient time, even till of now, what happens? Even in the people, those who are the most ancient people in Africa, in the jungle of Africa, those who are still hunting with the poison arrow, they are still making a big difference. How? When they are getting into any problem, they at first hide all the poisonous arrows from their side, and they hide this one into a bush, and they call their community people, they sit together by keeping the fire in between. In the central there will be the campfire, and they all will be sitting round of it, and then they start communicating. They will make the conversation, they'll communicate till they get into the solution. So this is how things are being made. And since the very ancient time, the thoughts are there, but how much we are practicing is one of the biggest cue here. So what's important, once again, the third side. When you are getting into a negotiation, when there is a conflict, you always need to find the third side, or you always need to find someone who will be taking you out from the conflict at first. And then you can come back with the full fledged of energy to get the best out of a negotiation. Are you getting me? Well, so humanity is something very important, because when you are talking in the real life, when we say something like right now I'm talking, if I say something that really connects your mind, oh yeah, he is talking on me, he is talking for my side, you will automatically find an invisible connection with me. Although I can give the most worst speech in this platform, you will not leave me. Why? Because you will find a connection in us. With that connectivity, that is called humanity. When you are negotiation, when we make a negotiation, that time humanity is one of the best tool that we need to consider. Unless we are being human, we will not be able to get the best out of any conflict or any negotiation in our life. And what the alternative, find the third view, what is called as ADR, that is alternative dispute resolution. This alternative dispute resolution is one of the key terms that we use frequently in our negotiations, and this is a term that used to describe the various method of resolving the disputes without use of litigation. So there could be a solution like, yes, we are into a trouble, we get into a conflict, and let's negotiate. If it's not been solved, okay, get back, get to the jail, the police will be deciding or the court will be deciding. So, but in reality, none of us really focus towards that one. We try to find the best possible way where the third view, which will make us more comfortable and to get into the decision. What could be those third views? Any ideas? If you have any ideas, please feel free to chat, use the chat box. Let us also see whether we are on track or not with you guys. So if you see, if you consider this kind of third view, this third view could be someone we trust, someone we can believe. It can be our family, it can be our friends, it can be the environment, it can be the situation, anything that drive us towards a successful negotiation. And this ADR, alternative dispute resolution, is very much impactful. Why? Because it save your blood. If there is an alternative, if there is an ADR, the bloodshed will not be there, because there will be the interest based conversation. We'll try to find something that will help us to get into the decision where no one will be harmed. So negotiation is an art. Every time when you negotiate into a fish market, and when we negotiate with a life partner, everywhere, even when you got born, we negotiated with our parents. We started crying the loud we can do, so that our parent couldn't realize that yes, we are hungry, and they come up with their food. Unless we negotiate, the parents would not be able to understand that yes, we are hungry and they need to give us the food. This is the reality, this is the ever truth. And to negotiate, some of the things we always try to miss, we don't focus. We negotiate, sometimes some of you, how much time you really consider to go for a negotiation? Once again, you can use the chat box. Let me see how much time you really spend to get into a negotiation to be solved. Well, sometimes some may say the negotiation could be, you have taken most of the cases. This is with due respect to our female members here, they are one of the biggest example of negotiation. They move all around the market, shopping mall, to get a product, but finally they come back to the same place to buy the same thing, but in between they spend like 5 hours. So what that really does in these 5 hours? Well, if you say, I try to get the best alternative, I try to get the best price so that I don't get loser. But for that 5 hours, have you ever asked that one? That 5 hours where Bill Gates used to earn $3,500 per minute once he started his Microsoft, and you consider now 5 hours? Well, time really does matter. So negotiation is an art. That's why we need to find the why factor, why we negotiate. Is there any mean to go for this negotiation? Should we really go for the negotiation or not? So when you ask these rules, when you ask these question to you why, then your mind will always come up with the two part once again. One will be the evil side that will always say, hey, go, 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 fight, fight, fight. Another will say, okay, calm down, peace, peace. So this is what the negotiation is happening, and that's the reason why negotiation at present time, the modern world, they are saying negotiation is not a rule based activities, it's a principle based activities. So when you talk of the rules, that time we say more about the must. You must have to do that one. You have to do that one. Means the strict and linear activities that is in front of us. And when you think of the principle, well, that is something more organic. That is something more feel like us. And that comes through cooperation. Like you guys are with me and you are cooperating me all the way. Unless you cooperate, we are not able to do the thing we are looking for. So this is something cooperation that I'm looking from you, but you are free to choose whether you are going to cooperate me or not. And then when you will be cooperating means it is going with your interest base, it's going with your understanding or somewhere connecting with your mind. But if it's not, it's very easy. You just tick the red button and say, I'm leaving the meeting. That's it, very simple. So in this world, we always think we have to consider very straightforward consideration, but holistic way. We need to think whether we are going for the rule-based negotiation or the principles. And where in this case, when you talk about these rules and the principles, that time something comes that is called the strategies. And negotiation strategies is something seems really wow. Yes, when you talk of the negotiation, then we talk of kind of like 5 types of strategies. Guess what? What could be the 5 types? The first of all, win-lose consideration. And I believe you all face these things in our regular base. At least if you are not outside, you come at home, you will see, you will find this example very frequently. There is no example in our life that will not meet with our real life in our family. There is no book that cannot be connected with our real life. We all face these kind of things. So somewhere in the organization, when we are in the superior position and a new supplier is coming to us to get enlisted, that time it is very much obvious that you will exercise the best power you have. Because I am the bigger organization, you are coming to me first time, so I have to be the top in position, I have to be the superior. So it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter where you go, I have to get the best value which I'm looking for. So this happens everywhere and that is called a pure win-loss strategy. And very frequently it's happening with our life. Every time we're doing this one. Especially when you go to the boss house, that time boss is always right. So in that case, boss is something that will always keep in the winning position. Am I correct or wrong? So these conventional things these are the strategies where most of the powerful countries are dominating the upcoming or the growing countries by their strength, by their power everywhere, because they are the superior. This concept is showing that they are focusing on the win-loss concept. And now when we are talking of this the loss win concept there is a very easy example, my dear. When you come back at home and you see your child is really doing something and which he will not be able or she will not be able to get winner, but still we feel we get ourselves loser, we lose in terms of sympathy. What works here? The feel of sympathy, lose before the opponent, is the best example. The parent in front of the kids, We let our kids win in front of us, and we consider ourselves as the loser. So this is something, the ever truth, and this is ever going negotiation strategy that we are facing everywhere, anytime. Next is what? Compromise. Yes, this is one of the most important thing. We never want to negotiate with the fool. And that's why when we see the negotiation or when the conversation is meaningless, that time is better to not negotiate. We say, okay, you win. I take my part. I'm just leaving from the negotiation. No, there is no point of discussing with you, because you already understand there is no point of this negotiation. That time, what you do, you just give up yourself, so that the another party cannot be the bull in front of you. Otherwise, they will start pushing you, and at a certain point, that will make that there is a high potential to become as a very destructive thing, that will divert as a destructive thing. We never expect this one. Rather, we consider to compromise ourselves as a wise person. So that is the strategy number 3. And the next one is the lose lose. So when you feel that yes, none of us will be benefited out of it, and you both understood this one. Let's say, for example, very good example, Argentina versus Brazil. Every time we fight for each other, all the football lovers, isn't it? So is there any if Argentine supporters like me, if they lose, Brazilians get really hyper. They celebrate, and we feel really wow, isn't it? We get ourselves we just get into a bully activities. But is there any? Have we ever seen? I believe very few of us really have seen Argentine or Brazil. We never have seen this one. But we get into conflict. We fight for this craziness. So in that case, what happens at a certain point, we understand there is no point of negotiation. So automatically we go calm and don't negotiate further till the next match happens, isn't it? So this is one of the strategy that we always focus on, the lose-lose concept, and this negotiation take place in everywhere. We know whatever the things we are talking, it has no strength to get win. Both parties. And at a certain point, what do? We get disconnected. Okay, you said, okay, you are right. Another one said, okay, you are right. That's it. Negotiation over. So that is another strategy called lose-lose. Finally, the thing is the win-win concept, and that is what we all are talking at present time, because at present we all want to be the winner. And when we think of this winner, is that so easy? It seems like the crown, we will get both of the team will come, the loser party, the runner-up party, and the winning party, they'll hold the trophy together, and that is win-win. No, my dear. There are a lot of things that to be assured to get into the winning situation in our life. So guess what? What's next? While you are thinking, that time when you have something in your mind that yes, I am looking for a win-win concept, and that in that case, what happens? I believe nowadays, if I ask you that, do you really work on negotiation among these 5 strategy, which strategy you follow? I believe you all will be going for this win-win concept. Very few will say, I will go for the other concepts. But is it true? Have you ever asked? Because at present, we all are the hyper decision makers. And during these hyper decision making activities, we always try to get ourselves rush into getting the solution. Yes, either you say yes or you say no. Okay, I don't have that much of time. You said no. Okay, khalas. And if you say yes, okay, let's sign it. So we get into the in this present time, we get into what kind of decision makings? We get into the rush type of decision makings. We try to rush. We always tend to be rushed to get into the solution. And for in that case, when we rush for the solution, that time, we, although we may say that we are talking of the winning concept, but we lose a bigger pie. What is that bigger pie? That is the interest. So when we are talking of this interest based discussion in our negotiation, that time we need to focus, we need to create a criteria in advance. Those criteria that will help us what could be the best solution. Before you get into the situation, we need to, the negotiators, or when we are getting into the parties, we as a party, we need to think another party, so what could get into the better solution when we will be meeting each other. Let's say you are going to meet a client, but that client, you are not able, because the discussion is happening in a no man's land. In a no man's land, we used to, as a negotiator, sometimes what happens, we cannot go to any party's house to go for the resolution. So what we have to do, we have to find somewhere, maybe it can be a restaurant, it can be somewhere a very recreational place where both of the parties come, and again, as a negotiator, we also go there and try to make the bridge in between the both parties. So in that case, what happens, our interest is always there to find a better concept that will make both of the parties comfortable. Trust me, unless you feel comfortable, you will never ever get into a solution, or you cannot give a proper feedback as a solution maker. So that's the reason why when you are the dealing party, that time, if you are going to meet a client, that time you need to make you need to be a bit qualitative. The more you try to inquire, the better understanding you will have about your party, about the opponents. So the more you know about the opponents, the more you know about the opposite part, the better positioning you will have when you meet each other. Even now, when, let's say for example, we go for interviews, and at present, everywhere there's been a saying that if you go for an interview and if you don't know about the company, don't go for that interview. Am I correct or not? Why is that so? It's their company, they are yet to take us their own. Why should I know about them? Yes, I should know about them, because I will try to make them feel that yes, I am also their part of journey. I'm also a part of their journey. So that will make them more homely to consider me as their next colleague in office. It's quite simple. If you think simple, you will get things simple in front of you. And with this, always remember one thing: when we are into a conflict, when we are into any situation, that time we need to determine, we need to get into one single point where we need to know that whether we are going to bargain or we are thinking of negotiation. If you are in the fish market, then please don't go for negotiation. Try to be the bargainer as much as you can. You have to understand where you are. And if you are somewhere trying to deal with a crore business, that time try to find the interest, where the interest lies of the both parties. And try to find that interest, try to find as a marketeer, the people who are working with the commercial, those who are coming with the offers to you, what they does, do you respond to each of the people, those who are coming with their product and services? Well, I don't think so. You only respond those people who are knocking in your mind that yes, I have the thing need, I have the thing required for my organization or for myself. If someone is offering you a Mercedes Benz and that offer is just, they say, okay, it's just 50% of the total cost. It's, you will never ever find the best deal like this. It's a pandemic situation, all the products are coming 50% discount, please have it. But do you really need a Mercedes Benz? The first question, if you need the Mercedes Benz and you do, your need is being supported by your ability, then you will be able to respond that offer. Otherwise, that offer is not for you. So in that case, like every time, we as a marketer, we as a negotiator, it's very important to identify as a professional as well. Even if you are going for an interview, we are going for a customer visit, we are going for any sort of things, even we are going to have like the land clash in between us, try to find one single thing, that is where the pain lies. Once you have the pain identified, then try to work on that pain to convert that pain into a pleasure. And that pain to pleasure journey is something well known as reciprocation. Today, if JCI is doing this kind of knowledge sharing session as a school of, for this, as a school of leaders for the members, means what? JCI, we all know, it's a non-profitable organization that helps the professionals or the people with an entrepreneur mind from the age between 18 to 40. If they are making, they are not making any profit, but still you are getting the membership and it's a paid membership. And this kind of knowledge sharing sessions JCI is offering, why? So that the member feel that yes, JCI is willing, they are devoted to do something for your betterment, for your personal growth. It's there are a lot of activities of JCI, but this is one of their activities, and that is completely focused for their members. And with that blessing, when you really feel yourself that yes, that really connecting on my mind, and the amount I'm paying for the membership, that really make worthy to me, you will never consider what is the premium to get the membership. This is called the beauty of the reciprocation. We all respond rapidly with the reciprocity. When someone is offering us something, that time we also try to give them something in return. That is by bond that is inbuilt in us. So today, if my one single word can create an impact in you, next time if I ever meet you, because the world is very small, and due to this globalization, the world is becoming true a small village. Who knows, we can meet someday, and at that time you can give me a smile that yes, some word from you has made an impact, and that created a good value the time I spent with you. Since the pandemic started till of now, Knowledge Bees has done this kind of activities, and with that activities, we have helped over 2,000 professionals directly or indirectly. Those with the help of global resources, like I'm very much happy to have Dr. Pratima Khandelwal, like this kind of global resources with me, those who cooperated us to conduct this kind of amazing sessions, that is later Insight Out with Tanzil. And with the trends and topics, we try to explore the pain of the people, and we try to help them with whatever the expertise we had. What is the result? I still get the feedback. What's the next plan of you? Are you doing something? Can we be a part of it? Yes, that is called the reciprocity in negotiation. And that is always truth in, if you are a negotiator, try to focus on the pain of the people ahead. Try to see what is the really suffering to them, and try to help them with whatsoever you have with you. And that will make you a true win-win success creator in the area of negotiation. I believe the 1 hour has been taken by me, and this is something I really enjoyed my time with you. I believe If you have any questions, I'll be there with you. And as I said, this is a long 6 hours program that I have converted to 1 hour as according to the requirement of our host here, JCI. So I would like to request you, if you have any questions, please feel free. I'll be there to give you feedback with whatever the expertise and experience I have. Up to you, Nipun. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanzil bhai. It was a very good session. Especially, you have the lots of energy. I must say, I must appreciate that. It was an excellent speech, and really, I'm really enjoying that term and the what you are using in a few negotiation and techniques. There's some things I know that you all know the process, but the way you explain it, the way you manage the information is really appreciable. So right now, I'd like to uh, give you a link within 1 minute. But before that, I'd like to take the opportunity to ask our participants that if you have any queries, any questions, please ask because next 10 or 10 minutes we'll take your queries, we'll ask questions, and our honorable trainer, Mr. Tanzil will meet your queries. So please, if you have any questions, please ask now. And in the meantime, I'm giving a form, a survey form in the chat box. So you can ask and at time you can fill up the form. It just take only 1 minute of your time.
Nipun, I wanted to ask one question. I want to ask. Yeah. First of all, thanks to the organizers for such a wonderful talk. And Tanzil, খুবই ভালো talk হয়েছে. The way you have articulated your talk, the examples you gave, the story you started, the graphics you have used. I think I have to appreciate you for all the things. And the smile what you carried throughout the session, Mr. Tanzil. It was amazing. I must appreciate you. And I thank the organizers to make the session open for as many to attend it. Great. So here is the question which I thought I'll ask. And the question is very simple, but I thought because often articulation is linked with negotiation. So if you could throw some light to the audience that how important is articulation, in particularly when there's a language divide or there is an age divide or digital divide. What is the role of articulation in those circumstances to come to negotiation, especially towards win-win? If Tanzil, you could answer that, it would be great.
Thank you.
And once again, wonderful job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When I say about the articulation, when I say about the negotiation, that time it's something always that I said interest based, and interest is not something very much fixed or freeze. It changes based on the location, it changes based on the demography, it changes on the age level, whatever you say. The male have a different interest than of a female. You will find most of the females, they will have the pink flavor in them. But do you ever feel a man, those if a man is wearing a pink shoe, what do you really think of?
Yes,
So
cultural biases, culture does come into
so
the
that
mindset does come into
that is our
yes.
mindsets. So in that case, if you really want to articulate this kind of negotiational things, that time at first what we need to do, we need to understand what are the segments. We need to categorize the segment first. We need to think of the segment, and once we understand the segment and the demography and the interest they have, the norms like the digital era right now, if you are saying that yes, I am a believer of a physical meeting, and if you believe that, if you feel that in physical meeting, unless there is a physical meeting, you will never ever get into a solution. There are so many people think like that. But if you are really thinking in that way, trust me, you are not fit for this real world. You are not fit for this digital world. So we have to be trendy. We have to be adaptive with whatever the change we have. We have to articulate. Negotiation is a technique which is not freeze. Over the time has been evolved, and the negotiation also changed its pattern, considering the people they're dealing
Yes.
with, considering the age they're working with, considering the taste they are having. So that's more important. When you are negotiating, we need to understand, we need to put the shoe at first to whom we are going to negotiate, and based on that we need to identify the interest level, and once we get the interest, then we can change that interest through our reciprocity, that like I always say that you are an inspiration to me because you are an example who is continuously contributing to the society. And
Humbled, Tanzil, frankly.
thank you so much. and
Whatever
and the
I
way
I
you
can
are,
say,
the way you are contributing to the society, in return the society is also coming back to you. Money is not always something that we are negotiating for. Sometimes a simple smile, sometimes a single thanks can give us much more pleasure than of anything that we are looking for. That could be the biggest solution, that could be the biggest win-win situation, a single smile sometimes, but we miss those things in the materialistic world, and that's why we miss out the negotiation part in our reality, although we are dealing with it. I hope I could able to give you the feedback.
oh yes, wonderfully, very nicely explained. Not human emotions also. As
Th-
always, Tanzil, wonderful listening to you. Thank you for answering us.
thank you so much
And
for.
I saw my pleasure, really. Your events are a pleasure to me, and I wish all the successes to you, knowledge peace, and now to JCT also. Wonderful to connect with the new organization, JCT Dhaka. Very nice. And I saw Noor Nabil sir also present. My good evening, my regards to you, sir. So nice to see you, and I'm sure you are doing very good. I really wish all the good to you also. Thank you. Noor Nabil sir. Thank you.
One of the question that has been uh, uh, brought here in the chat box, Mr. Ken here. So thank you for your compliment, Mr. Ken, and I'm really delighted to get your feedback here. The question is, which one of the technique presented that I have discussed here I frequently use? Well, it again depends that in which situation am I. If I am in a situation, if I don't know from which sector you are, maybe someone is coming from the military background, the negotiation pattern will be always win lose. If you are somewhere into a real field, if you are somewhere like the outcome is zero, it's always lose lose. If you feel that saying a sorry can solve the situation, saying a sorry can give you the deal back, you will always go for the losing. It always something the interest. You need to find the idea. Remember the idea. What is the alternative to dispute resolution? And also, if you are the supplier part or if you are the offerer, then you need to identify your bargaining power as well. If you are meeting someone who is not the decision maker, don't just use too much of your time there, don't just give too much of your effort, because the person at the end will not be able to give you the ultimate decision, because he don't have the zopa inside. You remember what is zopa? Zopa is the zone of potential agreement. So if you are not the, I remember one day when I was back in 2007. That time I was pursuing a person to buy a device from me, and that was an early morning. I was walking with the person, and the old fellow. He was a very nice person. He talked with me like 1.5 hours. Finally, the old wise man said, Tanzil, I'm really impressed the way you said, but trust me, because the device has a radiation, that's why I don't use this device anymore. So if I want to use it back again, I will go to the shopping mall, I will go to the showroom, I will try to buy one for me. So 1.5 hour, I missed this one. Why? Because I was not able to find the person's decision making interest. That's why try to make more questions rather than giving your thoughts. If you make more questions, you will able to understand the opposite person in front of you. That will help you to go for the strategy which is much better fit into your situation. I hope I could give you the feedback.
We have another questions from Mr. MD Atikur Rahman. So that was for RNG sector when we have to procure urgent materials, which is the best process we accept.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm also a person who was very much closely working with the RMG sector. So that time, when you are in the RMG sector, that means that is in terms of Bangladesh, that is contributing the major economic factors. So it's one of the most hyper industry at any time. So when you are in urgency, when you are in rush, that time, remember one single thing: necessity has no rules. First one. And the second thing is, when you are in emergency, that time try to find someone who is always a proven partner with you. And that time sometimes it happens, like in terms of necessary, let's say for example, a very good discussion had came when I was in my class with the Shonag University. I already have in front of me the before the Eid vacation, one of the most important ingredient has been finished, and to meet the demand they need the product at urgent basis. So do you think that time if they go for the procurement process, like okay, I have to get 3 quotations, then I have to get the product, and then I have to analyze everything, based on that I will issue the purchase order, and then I'll go for the product buy? It's not a wise idea. In that case, what you have to do, you have to go for those people who really could meet your demand at an urgent basis, and you have the control over them. That time, sometimes you have to be use your power context, that yes, if you don't cooperate me, I will remember you after the situation been done. So this is something like power context. We have to use this one. All the strategies, there is no right and wrong. It depends on the situation, when you're using which techniques and which strategies you are using in which situation.
We have another question. What are the tools of negotiation we can use?
Well, as I already said, the tools and the tools. The first tool is the ADR. I already repeated these things. ADR, that is the alternative dispute resolution. Alternative dispute resolution. That means the third view. Try to find what is the ultimate weak point, or what is the ultimate interest area, where if you talk, then you will find the support, the ultimate same type of Newton third law. Remember Newton third law? Every action must have an opposite and equal reaction. Unless you push hard, you will not get the reflection. And the next thing is ARL. That is called, what do you call? That is called action reflection learning. Whatever we are learning, whatever we are doing in our regular activities, try to, whatever you are learning today, it might be a single small tools. Try to do that one in reality. Try to apply that one. Once you apply, then you will identify whether the learning you had, that could make an impact or not. Try to identify the ZOPA, zone of potential agreement. When you are going for bargaining, that time try to see it at which point your supplier will agree to give you the product. Don't worry, the supplier will always say that I'm giving you this one, trust me, I could not make any profit. Is it true? Never ever. They will make the profit. Yes, maybe bigger portion or smaller portion. So that as an expert of negotiation or a deal maker, you need to identify at which point they will be agreed to give you that product to you as per your requirement. For this, it's very important to get the market information. We sometimes, we people are becoming more dependent. The world is more open. You can Google anything, you can Google anyone. But some cases, if you guys are working with the local partners, that time it's not that easy. So what you have to do, you have to create a relationship. The relationship is something that is more superior, and that has the most powerful things inside. If you can create a relationship, you will always find that somewhere you will be winner. So these are the few tools that you can follow at a regular basis that helped me a lot when I was in crisis and when I faced crisis. Sometimes a sorry, sometimes a smile could be a big negotiation tool for you. We most of the cases we lost. As I'm a supply chain professional, we always try to focus on the technology, we always try to focus on the machines operations. What we lose, we miss out the human touch, which is coming from the ancient era of our life. So this human touch is very important. Humanity, try to be a human, try to come up with the reciprocity. This will give you the best ever result. If you don't trust me, apply and then see. I'll always be there to get your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanzil bhai. We'll have a few more questions. I will go through that now. Then, Mr. Maruf bhai already asking, can you tell me three techniques of virtual negotiation? He wants to know three techniques of virtual negotiation.
Well, virtual negotiation is a very crucial point. Thank you so much, Mr. Maruf. Can I get you on camera for a while? So I know you, Maruf bhai, the digital maker, right? So yeah, so the virtual negotiation is something that we are having frequently at daily basis in our life. So when we are talking of this virtual negotiation, is something that we don't have, like we don't see the person, in reality, but we have to have the feel inside, and for that information is very important. Try to get more and more information before you meet the person virtually. For that, if you are meeting a person, LinkedIn is a very good source. If you want to meet a person, try to get some referral who can give you the feedback. So that to create a rapport is very important in terms of the virtual negotiation. If you cannot create a rapport, virtual negotiation will not give you any result at the end of the day. So what we miss out? We miss out the rapport creation. We miss out the pain points, and as we miss out the pain points, that's why we cannot get into the pleasure point. So that's why it's very important to create a bridge in between the pain and the pleasure, which always rapport is a helpful tool, and that rapport can be developed by the more information you have for the person with whom you are going to meet virtually, or the organization you are going to deal with.
Okay, we have, I think, we have one last question from, again, from Lester Torres, KCI Philippines. Apart from the discussed factor that one need to consider in the art of negotiation, what other internal and external factors can you identify in the course of your championing negotiation? Perhaps these factors emerge with the time you are negotiating or being doing lectures on negotiation. That's a big question, I think.
Okay, let me go through this question at first. Apart from the discussion factors that one need to consider in the art of negotiation, what other internal and external factors you can identify in the course of your championing negotiation? Perhaps these factors emerged by the time you were negotiating or being doing lectures on negotiation. Wonderful question. Thank you so much. So before I get into answer, can you please write down your profession, if you don't mind?
Hello, Khan, you are here?
Okay.
No, you sure? I think he's something in urgent.
Okay, he is already here.
Yes, yes. Okay, he's no.
Okay, the question is, what's your profession? Oh, your profession is my profession. Okay, great. So So okay, you are taking an undergrad degree. Okay, that's fantastic. That means you are a learner like me. I'm also a student. I'm also a learner. So what I learned from all of you guys, and that is one of the biggest achievement of mine till of now. So what is the external and internal thing that influence you to negotiate, or that influence you to get into the negotiation or win the negotiation? Well, if you consider this one, in that case the negotiation is something that always create a golden bridge. And what we I say it every time, the internal part of my negotiation is what? The first thing is the passion you have. Unless you have the passion, you will never ever get the energy to get into the solution. Try to take the thing inside. Whatever the situation you have, try to feel it. If you can feel this one, that will give you the internal energy to get understand the whole situation during the time of a negotiation. And when you think of the external things, if you are thinking a big if you are thinking a negotiation, and the negotiation is taking place in Palestine, do you think that the externalities will give you the best solution ever? Or let's say for example someone is just triggering the gun on your head, and you're trying to negotiate with that person, what will be the external situation that you are going to face? So these are the externalities. The environment you have, the situation you face, all those things together will influence you to get into the decision. And that the best tool is to be patient, to be the well listener. If we are into any negotiation and if we are not listening, then we are losing a damn lot of things. As a teacher, as you are coming up to be the next amazing teacher, and I would love to be with you inshallah someday. I'll try to talk with you and would love to learn from you. That time you should keep in mind one thing, that what I do, we try to be the listener. We try to listen the pain first, and that creates an environment, and that environment help us to the the get into the prospect and pitch the best out of it. That will make our opponent convinced towards the offer or the solution. And one more thing, don't ever give one single solution for any situation. Yes, it can be done, but never ever in the win-win consideration. For win-win consideration, try to make couple of solutions and put it to the shoulder, put it on the other court, and let the other party take the decision, not you. And that will make the person feel that okay, the decision has made by me and the decision has gone for me. I hope I could give you the feedback. Ken.
Well, thank you, Tanzil bhai. So here we are. So I already shared a survey link in the chat box. So if the person who have already filled it up, no need to fill up again. But who have still did not fill up the form, I request everyone please take your 1 minute of your time and fill the form. So it will take us to another level that we could understand that what's our person feel about our training session. We want to make it better. We already have conducted 3 sessions under School of Leaders program. So we are planning to making or bringing something more programs for you purposes. So which will be beneficial for your professional and your personal life as well. So and now I would like to invite our 2021 local executive vice president, Mr. MD Altamis Nabil, for his closing remarks to this event. And I would like to say, everyone, please turn on your cameras. So within 2 or 3 minutes, we'll be taking good photos. I'll take the screenshot so we can post it in our social media for PR purposes. So Nabil bhai, the
Uh,
floor is yours.
one more thing before we go to Nabil Bhai. but although it's been organized by JCI, but I have here couple of like wow faces, Mr. Noor Nabil Hassan and Mr. Sirajul Azad. These people are always a big inspiration for all of us, and in fact for the community, and their contribution is just enormous to the development of the young generations. So if there is an option, please would request them to say something so that we all can be enlightened with their activities and with their experience in it. And now I
Sure,
think
we would
it's a
like to.
and now I think it's a high time to see all others. Don't hide your face. Just want to see the wow faces. And I must appreciate till of now, still you, excluding me, is 34. All 34 people are still with us in the discussion. That is something like really splendid. And your feedback is really important, because let us know whether the efforts we have given, does it really mean to you, or could we make the expectation that to be filled by that filled your expectation or not, whether the time you spend by not giving the time to your family, the 1 hour and 30 minutes, whether it makes sense to you or not. So that's why the feedback is really important. So over to you, Nipun. Thank you so much. It will take not more than 1.5 minutes, so please.
Yeah, sure, please. I'd like to please say something so that we also want to. So, Tanzil bhai, what do you suggest?
I'd like to request Mr. Noble Hassan sir to unmute and at least give us some thoughts so that we can enlighten from his years of experience. One of the most prominent person, and who is the senior deputy director in the most valuable educational institute, BUET, in Bangladesh, the engineering institute, Bangladesh Engineering Institute, and also the chairman of Knowledge Base. So, sir, could you please unmute and can say something to us so that we can learn out of your experience? Thank you.
Thank you, Tanjil. I am here since long time. I am very happy to hear today, and I wish all of you success and seek dua from all of you. And this was a good session. And actually, negotiation is nowadays going professionally. But we should remember in our life, actually, we are going through always some negotiation. Who is a good negotiator, is a good person, is a good administrator, is a good career and make his career good. Thank you for this wonderful session. Thank you to allow me to say some words.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to hear from you every time. Ajad Bhai, thank you so much, sir. Ajad Bhai, can you please tell us something so that we can also learn from your amazing track records that always inspire us a lot?
Thanks for giving me opportunity. Basically, I was not tell anything. So I have to tell something. Basically, I'm just looking after HR and supply chain. So every day I'm negotiating. Okay. So this is my very core job of my profession. So negotiation actually is in our family life also. Family, we are negotiating with our children. We are negotiating with our wives. Wives negotiating with husband. This is all about everyday matter in our life. And professionally, negotiation is not